Hello, I'm Jacqueline Holstead, and you are listening to On Point Conversations. In this podcast series, we share creative marketing, content, and branding strategies that help your business successfully navigate the new normal marketing environment. And today, my podcast is on being stuck. The reason I'm going to do this today is because, number one, I've been stuck on a few problems recently that I just looked at ways to get unstuck. And so I started putting together for myself ways that I unstick when I've got something sticky. And what I mean by unstuck is you have a problem, you're trying to figure it out, you're trying to see how you work through an issue with someone, you're trying to write a paper and it's got all kinds of different nuances and you're stuck with where to even start. And some people will say, well, just start writing. Well, that's not really the way I work very well. So what I'm going to talk about today is unsticking yourself by talking to yourself. Now, we are not crazy when we talk to ourselves. We might be crazy if we're talking to ourselves when there's a lot of other people around, but I'm talking about talking to yourself because this is a big issue of being stuck. And it's not just being stuck in personal life, it's being stuck in things for work. And you all know what it feels like to be creatively stuck. I don't think I could ever talk to anybody who didn't at one point feel like they were creatively stuck. So what I'm going to recommend for you today is try this, and that is talking to yourself. Because what talking to yourself does, it's designed to tap into what might be a clumsy kind of everyday conversation. And you're now sharing some of your insights and your knowledge, and it allows you to really find fresh solutions. And the reason I often use talking to myself is because I want to solve a problem. And I do this by talking about the problem, and I also perceive in my imagination that I am talking to different personas. I might be talking to a course lecturer, a teacher, a friend, a relative, and so on. I think you get the point. So for each one, I'm adapting a little bit more of a conversational style. And each one's helping me to shape and refine the problem, the idea, and ultimately then the solution. And I've talked to you before about this. So one of the key things is defining the problem. Well, sometimes we can't define the problem so well when we're just thinking it through in our head. It's a good way to do it is to talk about it. Now, there are a couple other reasons why I find talking to myself not only helpful, but very good for the creative process. Our brains have approximately 100 billion neurons, and that's capable of processing information within as little as 13 milliseconds. So unsurprisingly, that really means that the brain can become very cluttered thinking about daily tasks and noise. So talking to yourself can briefly silence any other intruding thoughts that might be distracting you from tackling the real issue. Plus, the way you speak. Sometimes in comparison to writing, you can write a little bit different. I write very businesslike when I write, but when I speak, it's not as businesslike. And speaking it is incredibly important, as it allows your brain to say exactly what it wants. It brings some warmth and energy, and for the delightfulness of clumsiness of the everyday conversation into your process. And I also find that the best solutions have really a human sentiment at their core anyway, so it's a conversation. I also find that it takes away that blank page fear syndrome. I don't know if the psychologist would name it that, but it's looking at a blank page. I'm sure we've all found that. I have anyway. You look at a blank page and you start falling to procrastination and hope, and just the hours kind of go away and you're left with this no spark of an answer because you're staring at a blank page, and it's very intimidating. So what I want you to do is remove that from the equation and see if you don't find it more liberating. And I've often found that often the best ideas pop up when my brain is idle. So I'm either taking a walk, taking a shower, doing some manual task, Basically, I'm distracted from what we in yoga call the monkey mind, the mind that just is moving all over. So it can be helpful to try talking during our more routine moments, like when we're traveling to and from work or school, or we're on lunch break. So listen back to the recordings when you've time set aside, and I think you'll be really surprised at what you find. Now, talking to yourself is also an opportunity to check in with yourself. If you're having a really off day, talking can help you understand what you're feeling and recognizing signs you might otherwise brush off. So record yourself during positive moments too. Don't just do the negative ones, do positive. And nothing, brings endorphins hit like hearing your own excitable voice communicate in an upbeat moment. Plus, we know with our cell phones, it's no longer socially awkward to be talking in wireless headphones, so it couldn't be easier to talk to ourselves. So let's start. How do you start that conversation with yourself? Before I get too farther in this, I do want to make sure that you understand that this is not a replacement for real human interaction. There's nothing more valuable than speaking with people and building a group that you feel is nurturing, challenging, but importantly safe to discuss themes and subjects and ideas. And I also understand that this approach isn't for everyone, though I would encourage you to try it. Take the elements that resonate with you and just be surprised at how natural it becomes after a few goes and after a few tries. The important thing when trying this for the first time is not to force it. Keep trying it in different ways, environments, and for different kinds of problems. So what's the first step? Set yourself up. Grab your recording device. Put on headphones if you need to, and then find somewhere you'll be comfortable to start talking to yourself. I like to stand, so consider standing so you can move around or head out for a walk and do it there. If you don't want to record it right away, don't. I sometimes don't record it. Sometimes I'm just talking it through. I like recordings because you can listen back to them, but don't feel that you have to be recorded if you don't feel comfortable doing that. Step 2 is pick a person to talk to. Now, this is pick a person in your imagination. Think of someone you know. That could be anywhere or anyone from your mother to a colleague. Try imagining them in detail and how they would respond and their mannerisms. And when you're imagining that someone you know, make sure that someone you know is going to be supportive of you. Then begin talking with them as you would usually. Imagine you're either on a phone call or you're at a conversation at work, you're in a coffee shop, you're online, you're in their living room. The most important thing is to choose a place where you'd normally talk to this person. If you normally would not talk to them on Zoom, don't try thinking of talking to them on Zoom. If you normally talk to them on the phone, think of them talking on the phone. Then use your step 3. You're going to ask the 5 W's and then you have the one H. And we all know this. You're going to look at the basic information from who, what, when, where, why, and how. And you don't have to do it in that order. You can do it in any order. They're all open-ended questions. You can't just answer them with a simple yes or no. And they're really meant to persuade your mind to delve further. Pose them in the creative problem you're trying to solve. And when you say, why, keep asking, why is that? Well, why is that? Well, why is that? And keep delving further and further and further. Next step is speak freely. Ask yourself questions, repeat parts of your person's answer back as you record, respond as the person with phrases like, if they would say, I know why you would feel like that. However, I suggest that, and you put in something else. Or have you ever thought of it like this? Kind of using the words they might use and then repeating them back and then adding your explanation. Next step is simplify your language. Imagine you're explaining your thoughts to someone with no knowledge or an experience on the subject, like a child. If you're able to speak in another language, that's great too. The restriction of vocabulary and taking that restriction away helps refine your thoughts and language down further. And it makes the ultimate solution one that's digestible for the majority of people. So if you're not talking in acronyms and different words that is only used in your industry and you're talking to as you would a child, you're going to be able to get down to the basics of it. And then if you need to send this out to the majority of people, it's going to be more understandable. Next step is when you're recording it, listen back and pay attention. It's really time now to listen. And I mean really listen. It's incredibly powerful to hear the emotion in your voice, the words you use, and most importantly, the words you don't. Listen back for the cues, how long you pause, or how you emphasize certain words. All of this will be important in helping you rationalize your thoughts and communicating them powerfully with clarity. Notice repeats and patterns. So by listening back, if you're recording it, you may realize you said the same thing slightly different, repeating the same words or phrase. This is really important because it makes you step back from the canvas and see the full composition. The idea was there all along, you just didn't see the patterns or connect the dots. If you get stuck, start again with the same line like, the idea behind the project is, and then repeat again. And the last step, talk to other personas. As I mentioned before, I speak in my imagination to different people, as it's important to have a different image, diverse image of perspectives, helping you mold and shape exactly what you're trying to say. Each time you're sharpening that focus and the reason, especially with very, very difficult challenges. It's your chance to break from your own agreeable echo and really challenge the curiosity and inquiry these people may bring, and those people that you talk to may bring. Again, this is in your imagination, in your imagining person that you're talking to. So in summary, this is pretty simple, but in summary, remember this is not for everybody. Don't force it. If it's not coming to you naturally, then it's only going to hinder you from exploring the approach in the future. So take it just slow and easy. And again, don't force it. If it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for you. And as you get comfortable with the exercise, I think what you're going to find yourself doing is you're going to see a different sensation, a different scenario, even ones you might feel very uncomfortable with. And you might also do this at a busy bus stop, packed coffee shop. It all helps to add a different flavor to what you're telling yourself when you're in different areas. And again, you want to do this so that it looks like you're talking on your phone or you're talking to someone. People talk on their phone all the time to different people in busy areas. Over time, you'll be able to gain clarity, think quicker, and understand problems in a deeper way, and challenge your ideas for better outcomes. That is to say, if this approach works for you, I would try it, and not just once, but several times, and see if it does unstick you. It's really worth the effort because it's difficult to be stuck, and we don't like to be stuck, and it also doesn't help us to be stuck. I look forward to talking with you further in further podcasts. My name again is Jacqueline Holstead, and this is On Point Conversations, and you can reach me at onpointthinking.com. I have a contact page there. Feel free to contact me by sending me email through that. I read all those and I do respond. Thank you and have a really good day. Thank you for listening, and I invite you to join me next week as we talk more about specific actions you can take to reach your own business goals. You can find my library of other inspiring podcasts like this one at onpointthinking.com. Again, thank you for listening. This is Jacqueline Holstead at On Point Conversations.